It was now Sunday morning, and the 8 sergeants had all gathered inside the portal hall. The doors to the training hall soon opened, and every one of the sergeants immediately gave a salute to the 4 men who had entered the room. Duke, the head of the second-year students, Nathan, the head of the first-year students, and Mike stood in the center. Then, finally, standing behind the 3 of them, was a man in a black and white tailored suit. It was the head general, Paul. "Nathan, I'm afraid I have some bad news for you," said Paul. "The upcoming portal outing for the first-year students will not be a green portal like how we originally planned it, but it will be an orange portal instead." Hearing this, Nathan's eyes widened. "Sir, this is crazy. They're only first-year students. Why do we need to push them so fast?" "There are reports that the Dalki are becoming more aggressive with their exploration. War will soon be waged, and the Dalki do not discriminate, whether they are children or not. They should get the experience now. I will permit you to send a couple of sergeants with them for their safeguarding rather than the regular teachers, but that's it." The generals now stood a few feet away from the circular teleporter. Paul lifted his wrist to look at his watch, checking the time. It was currently 8:59. 9 o'clock. As soon as the watch displayed 9, the portal started to warp slightly, and 3 figures could be seen coming through. Standing in the center was a bald man who wore sunglasses, and he had also donned a suit. "Jack!" greeted Paul. "It's been a while." Although Jack Truedream didn't look impressive by himself, the 2 men who came out of the portal beside him did. One of them was a large fellow whose height was nearly 7 feet. He was completely covered in a gray-colored beast equipment, which looked similar to a rhino, while he carried a large 2-handed axe on his back. By his side was an individual who was the complete opposite, a small, skinny fellow. This person was wearing beast equipment that was dark green in hue and had a mask covering his face, although instead of heavy armor like the other person, he wore light armor. The fact that Jack felt the need to bring these 2 was to remind them of the power that his family had. "I was hoping to speak to your sergeants who discovered one of our family members." That was the real reason why Jack had decided to visit the military base. Perhaps whatever had killed Ian was the same thing that killed one of his top men. Right now, both Jack and Haley were inside the medical office. "When you recovered his body, other than the 2 boys that were with him in the place, was there anything else or anything inside?" Jack asked. "Nothing that I can remember, although now that you mention it, it did seem a little strange," Haley said. "What do you mean?" "Well, even though everything was supposedly destroyed, the whole training center was left untouched, due to it being made of lithium. It looks like not a single beast had managed to get inside the place. Yet, when we entered, it seemed like the whole place had been trashed, as if a huge brawl had taken place." "It sounds like Ian must have fought something while he was in there," Jack said. "Do you have the names of the 2 boys? If they were there, then they must have at least seen something." The 2 students' files were brought up. The first one was Quinn. Jack quickly scanned it over, but as soon as he saw he was only a level 1 ability user, he quickly disregarded it. The next person was Vorden, who interested him. On his file, it stated his initial testing was a level 5, but next to it in brackets, they said it was subject to changes, and it was also stated that he was an original. Vorden Blade. After reading this name out loud, a memory had popped into his head. Several years ago, Jack had had his power for a few years now, and his family members were starting to grow. He had been called in for a meeting. This meeting was between the big 3 powers, the strongest originals. They had acknowledged the strength Jack and his family had at that time. However, one thing had stuck in his mind. There was one rule they stated before he left: to never touch the Blade family. "If you ever meet one of them, you have 2 choices," one of the men said. "Stay away or help them, but if you go against them, not even we can help you." Although it was a Sunday, all the students had been told to gather in the assembly hall for a special occasion. Right now, standing up on the stage was Duke, and behind him were the 2 men who had arrived with Jack. "All right, is everyone ready?" Logan asked. Right now, Logan had a small earpiece that acted as a microphone, while the others, apart from Peter, had the same. It was time for them to put their plan into action. "Ready," they all replied. Quinn and Vorden were standing relatively close to each other, while Peter was standing a row in front of them, so they could keep an eye on him, while the girls stood directly at the front of the class. Their section was stationed closest to the stage, while right at the back towards the exit was Logan. To his surprise, it seemed like Fex was in the same homeroom class as him. "Raten, you remember the plan, right?" Vorden asked. "As soon as you finish with what needs to be done, then you get out of there. I don't care if someone looks interesting to fight, or if someone looked at you the wrong way. We need to disappear immediately after you're done." "Will you shut up?" Raten snapped back. "For the last 2 days you've said the same thing over and over to me." The 2 abilities he needed were already stored for the day. Right now, they just needed for the assembly to be over. Quinn, on the other hand, was worried for Peter. The system recommended giving Peter some of his blood, which he did, and he gave the order not to attack Duke or Jack. The only way that Peter could disobey this order is if his life was put on the line. Then self-preservation would override Quinn's orders. "Please clap for Mr. Truedream," Duke said as he walked off the stage. Mr. Truedream then got up from his seat and came up from the side of the stage. As he stepped forward, so did the 2 guards next to him. "I have a close relationship with the military, and I visit every base each year. But I have to say, out of all the military bases, this is my favorite one. I also seem to get the most and the best gifts directly delivered to my doorstep here," Jack said with a smile. Most likely those gifts he was talking about were the students given to him right after this assembly. While the speech continued, from the bottom of Logan's sleeve, one of the small mechanical spiders crawled down his shirt and hopped off his shoe. "All right, guys, it's all set," Logan whispered. As Jack left the stage, Duke returned. He had one last thing to say to everyone. "Before I dismiss you all to enjoy the rest of your day off, I would like these 8 students to stay behind. Raten, Howard Hubby, Wilford Green, Sarah Beeswax, Michael Briscoe, Amy Yellop, Peter Chuck, and finally Erin Haley. These students please stay behind and come to the front of the stage. The rest may leave." The students left the room one by one. After hearing the final name that had been called, the whole group was shocked at what they had heard. The final name was Erin. As Logan waited outside, he realized the others hadn't come out with him, so he took a bite of his sandwich. Before he said, "Guys, come on. We need to start our plan straight away. I know this is a shock, but that shouldn't deviate us from the original plan. Instead of saving 1, now we just need to save 2. With Logan's words, the group quickly snapped out of it and made their way out of the assembly hall with everyone else. The students, whose names were announced, went to the front of the stage, wondering what was about to happen. Erin, on the other hand, was panicking. Her head was spinning. The thoughts and memories she had kept within were starting to surface. Her family worked under one of the Big Four, and they had established a shelter on one of the orange portal planets. They had done a good job getting rid of the few advanced-tier beasts that lived on the place. At last, they had moved up high enough in the family's ranks to obtain a place back on Earth. But on that fateful day, a Dalki ship had invaded the planet. The Dalki came and attacked. And at that moment, she witnessed her father being stabbed in the chest. As she stood there frozen, one of her father's old friends managed to rescue her. A female dressed in pure sparkling white came through the portal. Erin saw her pass by. She fought against the Dalki on her own and was able to go toe-to-toe with it. Erin cried a lot that day. Her tears wouldn't stop coming. She cried for all the people that had been lost. The woman who had defeated the Dalki walked up to Erin, but unlike what the others thought should be said to a child, she didn't give any words of comfort to Erin, but only gave her the harsh truth. "If you ever want to see your family or friends die again, then you have to become stronger." She had been selected because she no longer had the status her family once had. With everyone gone, she had been sent a token gesture of money from one of the Big Four, just enough for her to live off of for the rest of her life, but the political protection their family had was now gone. Following closely behind the row of students was the mechanical spider Logan had sent after them. Right now, Logan had returned to his room, and he was monitoring the direction of the spider. He was also looking at a 3D map of the whole school. On it, there were several different indicators, each one being a different person from their group. "Okay, Fex. It looks like they're heading for one of the meeting rooms located on the 2nd floor of the west side. Layla, you stay close behind him. Once you turn and reach the end of the corridor, stay and wait in position." The 2 guards were stuck to Jack like glue. "When Quinn and Vorden are ready, I will give the command and you guys will move out." Jack entered the meeting room followed by the 8 students. One of his guards had also entered the room with them, while the other stayed outside, guarding the door. Quinn and Vorden were at one side of the corridor, while Fex and Layla were at the other side, patiently waiting for Logan's order. "All right, Raten," Vorden said. "Looks like you're up." In the meeting space, the 8 selected students were all lined up in one row. They stood straight, nervously, all the while thinking just why they had been chosen to meet Jack Truedream. Concurrently, Erin was doing everything to keep her cool. As she looked to her left, she could see Peter standing calmly beside her. Of course, he didn't have to worry about anything since his powers wouldn't be taken away. However, it was different for her. She constantly moved her head trying to see if she can escape. "Now, you might be wondering why you have all been brought here in front of me today," said Jack. "It seems like, either one way or another, you have been suspected of a dangerous crime." Halting his speech, Jack slammed his hand on the table. "The punishment that has been handed to you is to have your abilities taken away." As soon as Jack said those words, a couple of students dropped to their knees, complaining, "But I didn't do anything, this can't be right." This was a deal-breaker for Erin. She had to do something, otherwise she would lose her ability forever. Hence, with a resolute countenance, she faced Jack and uttered, "But we didn't do anything, sir," Erin said. "If you do this, people will find out about your made-up lies. We can just tell everyone the truth." "Oh, don't you worry about that. Once I take your abilities away, you shall all pay a special visit to the dungeon. The school will then report to the rest. You were all working for Pure. With that, the students' curiosity will disappear, and with it, your existence." The green armored guard from earlier then started to walk over to the students. "A sleeping ability?" Erin mumbled. "Ding, ding, ding. Like I said, I'm not a monster. Although by the time that you guys wake up, you will already be in the dungeon." The guard had gone through the other students, and it was finally Erin's turn. When the guard went to place his finger on her head, she immediately swung out her arm, aiming for his temple. To her dismay, the guard didn't react at all. He continued with his task. Accordingly, she was not able to resist, and a few seconds later she was asleep like all the others. Finally, it came to Peter's turn. Willingly, before the man had even placed his finger on his forehead, he had closed his eyes. Once the green liquid was placed on his head, all the students were ready. Jack then looked at the green guard and cleared his throat out loud, signaling for the guard to leave. The mechanical spider remained inside the room while Peter's watch recorded everything. "Everyone go! Both guards are outside and only Mr. Truedream and the students are inside." The group outside had received the message from Logan to proceed. The first ones to make a move would be Fex and Layla. Right behind the two of them were two random first-year students. A slight tint of red could be seen in their eyes. When Fex commanded them, they started to glow slightly. A few seconds later, they were on the move. "Hey, what are you doing? Get out of here," the larger guard said. "It's time for them to get out of here." Pulling the strings back, Fex started to dash down the hallway. The students began to imitate Fex's movements and ran off as well, following his direction. The large guard followed them, but was quite slow with his heavy gear. Layla saw the students dashing towards the hallway right around the corner, which meant soon the bulky guard would soon follow them around the same corner. The second guard was still standing outside. As long as he was there, Vorden and Quinn wouldn't be able to get inside. She looked around to see if there was anything she could do. The only thing she could see was a plant pot down the hallway. Lifting it with her telekinesis ability, she started to levitate it in the air and floated it across the hall towards the green guard. The guard spotted it floating about, slowly coming towards him, but he remained there still. When the pot was finally in front of his face, he lashed out, smashing it and allowing it to drop to the floor, yet he still hadn't moved from his position. "Looks like I'm just going to have to kick his arse," Raten said. "No, Vorden, this whole plan, we need you to cause the biggest distraction inside, you know that," Quinn said. "Leave this guy to me." Inside the meeting room, Jack was preparing himself. He straightened up the tie on his suit and then licked his lips, making sure they weren't too dry. "This is the worst part," Jack said. He walked up to the first student and bent down, so the two were at eye level. His head was now right next to the student's. Grabbing the person by the head, he pulled it forward, pressing his lips against theirs. Suddenly, Jack could feel the energy from the student entering his body, so he continued to go down the line, pressing his lips against each student, draining their abilities. Finally, he had reached Erin. "Now here is someone I don't mind pressing my lips against," Jack said, as he looked at Erin's delicate face and realized she was a true beauty. The energy flowed through Erin's body and slowly entered Jack's. "All right, last one." Jack then moved his face closer to Peter. He closed his eyes as he went to press his lips. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Peter said. His eyes were wide open, and he was staring at Jack, who was standing right in front of his face. "Kitty, get in here right now! One of them is awake!" Jack shouted, very much panicked and frightened. Just as Kenny was about to open the door, a shadow raised from underneath, blocking his path. He quickly reacted, taking a few steps back. What is this thing? Is it some kind of ability? Of course, it was Quinn. He had used his shadow cloak ability to sneak up to the remaining guard in the hallway, and when he heard Jack Truedream screaming for help, he had decided to distract the guard, to give Vorden a chance to sneak into the room and take care of Jack. The guard looked around to see if there was any other way into the room, and that's when he spotted someone. A man dressed in a black suit of armor, wearing a demon mask covering his face. Even the top of his head was covered, showing him the jagged white mechanical eyes of the suit. "Is it you?" the guard asked. He knew he had to get inside quickly because of the main weakness his boss had, which was that he couldn't use the abilities he took from others. He was only able to give them to other people. So at the moment, he was defenseless without his guards. Quinn said nothing in response and started to dash forward, bringing the shadow from the door back to him, and it was now hovering above him. The guard saw this and immediately threw several needles, but the shadow managed to block them all. Damn it! This is the problem going up against an original. When the guard saw that his needles were ineffective, he quickly pulled out his dagger. He was waiting for Quinn to get close. However, when they were around 9 meters apart, Quinn jumped into the air, spinning his body, and then threw out a kick from the side. Blood crescent kick! He could do nothing but take the attack head on. What was that attack? It was so powerful, he thought. His hand was feeling numb from the impact of the blow. While Quinn was busy dealing with the guard, Vorden had snuck past and entered the room. Or rather, it was Raten who was in control now. He was using an invisibility ability he took earlier, so he couldn't be seen. As he entered the room, he saw the students slumped over in their chairs and Jack hiding behind the desk, while Peter was in front of him, just looking at him. "Go away, or you will regret this," Jack shouted. "Are you threatening me?" Peter asked. Suddenly, Logan had an urgent message. "Guys, the guard chasing Fex has given up and is now on his way back. You have to grab them and get out of there, now!" Raten then went to the corner of the room near one of the wooden shelves and activated his fire ability, setting the whole thing alive with fire. "Peter, grab Erin and get out of here! Quinn's orders!" Raten shouted. Peter did as he was told. Picking up Erin, he quickly ran out of the room, but before Raten left, he stared at Jack. "Raten, what are you doing? I said not to touch him," Vorden said. The room was slowly heating up. Raten had suggested killing Jack, but Vorden knew this wasn't an option. The simple reason was the balance of the current world right now. If Truedream was to be taken out of the picture, the military power would weaken, and the power balance would be upset, leading to another civil war. But that wasn't what worried Vorden. The problem was, if the Dalki was to see this, if the humans were fighting each other, they would come to invade as soon as possible. Vorden tried his best to explain this to Raten. "I disagree," Raten said. "If the human race can't survive without one person, then maybe we shouldn't be alive in the first place." Raten had set his hand ablaze and threw a punch right towards Jack. All Jack could see right now was a floating arm of fire. As his hand full of flames was about to hit, a slight reflection could be seen in front of Jack. "Hugo?" Jack said. As he turned his head, the large guard, wielding a two-handed axe, had entered the room. "Well, we know someone is getting a raise." "Damn!" With nothing else left to do, Raten quickly headed for the corridor. Hugo held out his hand, and another reflection appeared just in front of the door. But it was too late. Jack could see the figure moving through the sprinkler's water, and it was clear it was no longer in the room with them. "Damn it! You're too slow. Forget about that raise. Let's get out of here." As Raten ran down the hallway, he could see Quinn, still busy dealing with the green guard Kenny. "I'm leaving," he shouted. And that was the signal for Quinn to disappear as well. Using his shadow cloak skill, suddenly he disappeared right in front of Kenny's eyes. A few seconds later, Jack and Kenny came out of the room. "Where the hell are they? Find them now, and find that girl and the boy. I want them both dead, you hear me?" Jack shouted. As the three of them walked off, Logan's mechanical spider had done the same. He had listened to everything Jack uttered. After a few minutes, everyone returned to Logan's room. Vorden, Peter, Layla, Fex, Quinn, and Erin were all inside, but Erin was lying on the bed still under the sleeping spell. "We did it!" Layla shouted. "I can't believe we got them out of there." "I wouldn't celebrate just yet, guys," Logan said. "It seems like we have a problem." Logan then played the recording of the mechanical spider. It stated that Truedream would order the school to bring Erin and Peter back if they were found. The group remained silent as each one of them thought about what to do. "Guys, I have a solution, but please, I don't want you to hate me after this," Layla said.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.